So at the end of this tutorial, we are going to create a simple RPS game which looks like this. So now we have player points and AI points. Now when I click rock, so the player chooses rock and the AI chooses rock, so it's a type. So if I choose paper, the AI chooses scissors. So we are going to implement this cool feature with the images and so on. So the images, you can get it in my uh, GitHub repository, so you can download from there. So without wasting any time, let's start programming. So in our last video, we have created RPS game that you can play using the terminal. So if you have not watched that video, then the link of that video will be given in the description. You can watch it from there, and then you please come back to this video, because you will have a better understanding on how we are going to actually design with what logic we are going to use. So now if you have already seen the previous video, then you can continue watching this, because in this video we are going to implement the GUI version using the Pygame module. So first of all, you need to install the Pygame module. So the simple command that you can use is pip3 install Pygame, or else if you are using the PyCharm editor, then you can go to the settings, and from there you can install it. So you can go to project RPS game and the Python interpreter. So from there you can get the list of all the packages that you have in your system. So it's loading, so let's wait. So we have all the installed package, and if you want to install in package, then you can just go and you can press over here and type Pygame. So I've already installed it. Yeah, so now let's close this. So if you are going to use the terminal, then you can open up the terminal and you can just type so this is I'm using Linux, so I'm using pip3 install Pygame. So you can just press enter and your Pygame will be installed. So I've already installed it, so I'm not going to install it again. So now after installing the Pygame module, what we need to do is we need to import the modules. So we need our Pygame, we need random, and we need OS. So now let's first of all, I've created a new there's a file with the game.py. So now first of all, let's import Pygame. So now already Pygame is installed, so I'm getting the suggestion over here. So Pygame, along with that we need to import random, and we need to import the OS. Okay, so now if you can see, I don't have any images, so let me just quickly copy it. So as you can see, now we have these three images over here. So what you're going to do is we need to import the images into our project. So what we can do is we can create three variables. So let's add a comment that images that we are going to import image. So we are going to name the images with their appropriate name. So we are going to call rock, and now for the rock we are going to name it as rock itself. So now let's load the module, that is from the pygame dot image dot load. We are going to load the function, load the image. So now we are going to create os dot path. We are going to join. So we have the folder name as images, right? So the first parameter will be images. Along with that, we are having the appropriate names. That is for the paper, we are having paper.png. For the rock, we are having rock.png. So we are going to write the same values over here. So just specify the comma, and you are going to have rock.png. Okay, in the same way, let's import all these three. So now these images are having different sizes, so we need to resize them. So now itself we'll resize it. So to resize it, what we need to do is we need to embed this entire function inside another function. So that function is called as pygame dot transform. We are calling the transform function, and from there we are going to scale this. So now the first parameter will be the thing that we need to scale. So we are going to scale the image, and the next parameter, the second parameter, will be the size. So we want it to be of the height of width and height of 100 and 100. Yeah. So now let's read this. So we have done. So what we can do is we can just copy this better for the speed. So we can create a paper, just copy, and next we have a scissor, and now we need to just change the rock to paper, and here we need to change it to scissor. Yeah. So now we have imported everything, that is we have imported the modules, and we have imported all the images. So now it's time to initialize the Pygame module. So the Pygame module can be initialized using a simple statement. So we'll add a comment, initializing Pygame module. So now we need to just add pygame.init. So yeah, we have initialized the Pygame module as well. So now we can mark this. So we have completed initializing. So now it's time to create a game class. So now again we are going to create a game class over here. So what you're going to do is we are going to create a class with the name game. So again, this is going to have the init method. Okay, so now the simple init methods contain the player's code. I'm going to do it a little bit faster because I've explained all these things in the previous video. I'll be explaining only those things which I have not explained in the previous video. So now we need to specify some things for the initially for the screen. So if now let's define a window for the Pygame window, that is we are going to define. So we need something called as self.width. So we want to define the width. So I want the width to be about 400, and we need to have the height of the window, so we can keep it 500. Cool. So now using this width and height, we are going to create a window, and let's name that as display surface. Cool. So we are going to create a window from here. So we are going to create pygame dot display. So we are going to get display dot set mode. We are going to set the mode, and inside this we are going to pass the width and the height. So the width is self dot width. That is what we have decided. We want the width as, and over here we are having self dot height. So now this self dot display surface will create a window with the height of self dot width, that is 400, and the height of self dot height with 500. So now what we can do is we can give a name for our game, that is a window. So display surface for or else we could have like the Pygame title, can give it to the Pygame over here. So we'll give Pygame dot display dot name. I think it's set caption, sorry, it's set caption, and we are going to name it as RPS game because we are choosing RPS game. The name of the game is RPS. So along with that, what we can create is, now we can go into something code. So now we'll define a method that is start game to start our game. Okay, so now in order to run the application, what we can do is okay, so before running, so now let's check what we have to do. We have created init method, so we have not initialized all the values. Then we need a start method, and then we need to check for the different Pygame events. So we are going to talk about it soon. Then we need to create a quit button to quit game. So we have not come up to that point. So now what we can do is, so first of all let us create let me just add pass, and now let's create a method object for the game. So we have created a game object, and we can call game dot start game. So now nothing will be executed as there is nothing defined inside the game method, start game method. So now if we run, let's see what happens. So now if I just try to run the game, so I need to run this method. So I think I have to run this. Yeah. So now we can see the game window appeared and went. So now what we need to do is we need to create a variable that can run, that can store the value up till when the program has to run. So what we can do is we'll create inside our method, we'll create a variable called running, and we'll name it as true because we want the player to be running. So now while the entire loop is running, that is while self dot running, what we need to do, so self dot running is true. So while it runs, what we can do is we'll just create, we have the display surface. So we'll create now we'll just create a surface, and for this we have created a surface, and for that we are going to give a color. So let's fill it with white. So the corresponding color will be 255. Oh my, what happened? So let me just, okay, so we have 255 and 255. So this will fill the color. So now if I just try to run the game, so now the game is running, trying to run. So but we can still see the black screen. That is because we have not updated the game module. So what we can do is we just stop from running, and we have some function called as pygame.display.flip. So now if I add the function that is pygame.display.flip, so now whenever I call this flip function, all the values will be updated. So now if I just try to run the game, so now we can see the white instead of black, we are getting the white screen. So now we have initialized our screen. So we have a height of 500, the width of 400. So now it's time to, so now you can see if I just click on the cross button as well, the application is not stopping because we have not created a method to stop. So there's some issues, so let me just stop this. So yeah, I've stopped this. So now what we need to do is we need to define explicitly the quit method. So for that we are going to get the checking for the different Pygame events. So now let's add, we can add a tag or a comment like this, different Pygame events. So we can get the events from the function pygame.event.get. So what we are going to do is for events in pygame.event.get. So we are going to check if event.type is pygame dot quit. So there is some function called as quit. So this refers to whenever the user clicks on the cross button that is present on the screen, that is present on the window, then this will be executed. So what we are going to do is we're just printing exiting the game, because to the console. So we are knowing that we are going to exit, and then what we are going to do is we are going to set self dot running as false. So whenever the self dot running is false, this function won't be run. That is, by self dot running this will stop, and the entire game will be exited. So now let's try whether this is working or not. So if I just press on the run button, so we are going to get the output. So now if I just click on the cross button over here, so you can see we have got exiting the game and we have exited the game successfully. So now we have done that. So over here we are checking for the start menu, checking for different Pygame events. So we have created a quit event over here. So we'll just mark it as done. So now what we can do is we'll just create a basic structure for application. So the basic structure includes the different values that has to be created. So we need to have self.ai points. So initially we are having it to be 0. Then we are going to have self.prePoints 0. These are the points referring to the player and the AI. Then we need something called as AI options. There's options that are available for the AI to choose. So they will rock, uh, paper, scissor. Okay, so we have these three options. Then we have the max points. We'll keep it to be 5. Then we have option for the player selection. So initially it will be none, and for the player choice also initially it will be none. Okay, so we have defined all these things. So now we need to display our score to the application that's in the GUI. So for that we need to create a method. We need to create a system font thing. So what we can do is over here we are going to create a font method from the Pygame. So we are going to create two methods. That is, we are going to create a small font, uh, and that is from the Pygame dot font dot sysfonts. So here over here we are going to give the name as consolas. So and the first parameter will be the name. You can give the name of any font that has been installed in your system, and along with that the second parameter will be the size of the font. So along with that we'll name either as extra small font, and this will have same, that is a pygame dot font dot sysfont with the consolas, and we just have it as the size of 20. So now we need to define the player score. We need to show the player score and the AI score as well, and along with that we have different button names. So what we can create is we create quit method, that is a quit for the quit button, that we are going to create a quit string. So what we can do is self dot, we can name it as like a quit button. Actually it's not a button, it's just a string. So from the small font we are going to create the method. So we are going to create the rendering. So we are going to give the text anti-alias as so the text will be what you want to display. So I want to display quit. Okay, so I want to display quit. Anti-aliasing will keep it as true, and color what you need to give. So I'm going to give it as white. Okay, cool. So I'm going to give it as white, and also we need to have it for the rock, paper, and scissors as well. So for the same we are going to create it really fast. So let's create it. So rock button will have self dot small font. So we are going to have rock through okay, I think the better way is to just copy paste. Yeah, so let me just copy this real quick, and we have self dot paper underscore button, self dot cheese underscore button, and also we have self dot, I guess it's for the restart button. So we have created a text for all these things, and now what we can do is now we are going to define some extra variables that are required by this application, which I have not declared in the previous one. So we need something called as round value, that is what things has to be displayed, that is whether it is a tie or the player won a match or the AI won a match. So we need a variable to store those values, and along with that we need two variables to store the images of the corresponding values that has been selected by the player and the user, the player and the AI. So we add a tag selected images, and what we can do is over here self.ai image is initially nothing will be selected, and in that case we are going to have none. Cool. So we have done that, and I guess now we also need to get the position of the mouse. So over here we'll define a new mouse variable, that is we going to get the position of the mouse. So from this get position, yeah, so we are going to get the position of the mouse, and we are going to store the value that will be in the form of tuple with the x and y value. Yeah, now we are good to go with the starting of the game. So we have initialized all the required values. So now what we need to do is so initially at each time we need to show and render the player score and the AI score to the user, that is the person who is going to play. So what we can do is over here uh, we are going to display the points. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we are going to create a player scoreboard, and it is from the small font, or else yeah, small font dot render. So we need to render it as player and string of self dot p points. So after that we need to have anti-aliasing to be true, and we need to have the color, and also I'm going to give the color black. So, and in the same way I need to implement a scoreboard for the AI as well. So it will be self dot small font dot render AI, and it will have a string with the int converted to string of self dot AI points with anti-aliasing to be true, and with the color 0 commands that is black. So now we have just defined a board. So now we need to render this into the screen. So we'll just create a draw the scoreboard onto the screen. So now what we can do is we have self display surface, so we need to build this code. So build in the sense while building it adds whatever the specified value adds into the screen. So now we need to add that is a player scoreboard, right? So we need to add the player scoreboard, and the second parameter, the first parameter is what we want to add. So second parameter will be the position, where you want to position it. So I want to position this at the starting, that is from the 0.05% of the width, and the height I want to be about from 0.05. Okay, so now if I run this, if I just run the program, so okay, there is some error. So SRT is not defined, so over here it has to be STR. Yeah, cool. So now if I just try to run the game, so nothing is getting displayed. Okay, so I think I need to add this code over here. Okay, and now let me just try to let's, yeah, cool. So yeah, now we are going to get player of 0. So we needed to add this field or the first as a field, so we have the player score to be 0. In the same way, we need to add the AI scoreboard. So over here, we want the height to be we want the left position to be same, but we want the height to be a little lower, so we are going to provide it as 1, and over here we are going to provide it as AI. So now if I just output this, so now we can see the player score is 0 and AI is 1. So now what we can create is, instead of creating the rock paper scissors right now, we'll create explicitly we'll create the quit button so that user can quit the game. So in order to create a button, so we need to create a rectangle, and inside that we need to add the string. So now let's add a tag creating quit button, so it will be easy for us to understand what we are doing there. So now in order to create a quit button, yeah, what we can do is we can call the rect function pygame dot rect, or I think it's draw dot rect. So we have a draw dot rect, and as you can see, if I just come over here for the documentation, so you can see the first is the surface, then we need to specify the color, then we need to specify the width and height and so on. So now let's try to specify all those. So over here we want to display it in the main screen, so that the display the surface, and then we need to specify the color, that is I want black, so 0, 0, 0, and in the form of list I need to present the width and height. Okay, so I need as a self.width, and it should be these are some math values I've done, so we can have it at 75 over here, and self.height can replace it anyway, so minus 55. So now we have created the height and width, so now we need to specify the width and height for the rectangle. So I need to have a width of 80 and I need to have a width of 40. So now we have drawn the rectangle. So if I just run this, run the entire program, so now we can see we have created a small black button over here. So it's not working right now because we have not implemented any functionality for that. So now what we need to create is we need to display the quit that we have already created. So for that we are going to blitz self.quit button that we have created, and now we need to specify where we want to set it. So now the value will be self.width divided by 2. These are some values that I have done, so you can just copy it. So now if I just run it over here, so now we can see the quit has been done, but there is no functionality when I click it. So what we need to do is first we need to get the mouse position, so we'll define the mouse event for here. So in order to get the mouse events, the event type will be mouse button down, so we'll add a tag checking for the mouse clicks. Okay, so what we'll do is if event dot type is equal to pygame dot mouse button down, that is whenever you click on the left button of the mouse. So let's try to bring the position where the mouse is. So now we can do that by using mouse, because we are getting this mouse variable is storing the value of the position of the mouse. So whenever we try to print self.mouse, we are going to get the x and y coordinate of the mouse. So now if I just click over here, so now whenever I click anywhere, so we can see the printing of the values 186.27. so over here 186.27. okay, so there is some problem because it is giving the same value. So let's see why that's happening. So what happens is each time initially we have created, so what we can do is over here initially each time whenever the loop runs we can create self.mouse is pygame dot mouse dot get position. So now if I run this, cool. So now we have got 61 362, we have got 89 189, sorry, so we have got 180 211 211. So in that sense now whenever I click on the leftmost portion, so the value will be 129 465, and over here it will be 203 and 464. So in between these, if I click on any button that is present in between these, then I need to specify the quit method. So what I can do is I need to get the left and right coordinates and the top and the bottommost coordinates, and I can add a condition over here. So let's define the condition. So what the condition is, after the mouse button, so let's add like we'll add mouse click for the quit button. Okay, quit button. So now the quit button should have the least value of 129, right? So if 129 is less than or equal to the mouse self dot mouse of 0, that is we want to get the x coordinate, and it should be greater than 129, it should be less than 203. And in the same way the topmost is 447 and the bottommost is 482. So we can get 447, it should be less than or equal to self dot mouse, okay, and that should be less than or equal to 482 as we have got. So now whenever we click on this button we need to quit. So for understanding that it's working, we'll just print exiting the game, and we're not doing anything else. So we are just going to print exiting the game. So I'm just going to restart this. So yeah, stop and rerun. So we are going to get, so whenever I click anywhere on this quit button, okay, so we are okay, so I need to specify this as 1, sorry. So now if I just run this, so whenever I just click on anywhere on the quit button, exiting game will be printed. Cool. So if I click anywhere else, only the mouse button will be executed. Otherwise, if I click on the quit button, then the game will be exited. So what we can do is over here we can just call exiting the game and self dot running is false. That's it. So now let's test whether we can do this. So just run the program and let's click on the quit button. Yeah, you have exited the game successfully. So now we have created the quit button. So now it's time to create the buttons for the rock, paper and scissor. So what we can do is drawing different buttons for the user. So now let's draw rock. So rock will have pygame dot draw dot rect. We need to draw the rect. So we need to have self dot display surface. Then we need to have the color as black, and inside over here we are going to give self dot width into 0.25, and they're going to have some math. Cool. And yeah, self dot height into 0.20. We need to have 80. I think we need to have 90 and 30. Yeah. Then we are going to install that. We are going to render the font inside this. So what we can do is self dot display surface dot blit. So that is, we are going to display the rock button, and the position will be self dot width into 0.25. We'll just do some simple mathematics. So now let's check whether this is working for the rock button. So if I just run this program, so I'm just running it every time so that you will exactly know what the output is whenever I create something new things. So now let's update our readme file. So what we have done is we are checking for the most click events. So now I have not created all these things. So okay, we have created the quit button. We have created display the player and AI scope, and then we are on creating 3 buttons. So we are still a lot ahead to go. So now let's continue and quickly finish off these things. Yeah, cool. So now I need to do everything same for the paper and the scissor. So for that I'm just going to copy these things, and we change the tag as well, paper scissor. So now what we need to do is we need to change some simple values. For the paper we have 0.50, and for over here we have 0.75, we have 0.75, we have 0.50, and for the paper and for over here we are going to have 130, and this has to be scissor B and it's paper B. So now if I just run this, so now we have the 3 buttons, but you can see all the 3 are showing rock. So that's why is it showing rock? Okay, I think I have not changed the okay, so I need to change this to scissor, I need to change this to paper, and this to restart. Now if I just run this, we just minimize this as possible. Yeah, so we have the rock, we have the paper, and we have the scissor, and now we need to define the mouse events for all of these. So so we have mouse click for rock button. So you can just write in the same way. You can get the values for each of these. So you can just click it over here and you can get. So I've already gotten the values for these, so I'm just going to put it really fast. So in the same way as we have created the values, so if so we just name this as paper. Okay, we are done with this. So now if we check, so rock selected, a paper selected, and this is selected. Okay, cool. So we have done this successfully. So now what we need to do is whenever we select the player, so what we need to do is we need to set the player image. That's the image what the player is used. That is self dot player image is over here. It is rock, right? So it is for the rock, and in the same way we need to select the player selection is rock, and over here self dot, if it is paper then we need to select paper, and self dot p underscore choice is paper. In the same way self dot p image is paper, and self dot p underscore ch it is sorry, I have to add scissor. So we have scissor, and whenever after user selects, we need to make the AI select something. Okay, so for that we are going to do AI selection. We are going to define a new method that we call the AI to guess what it requires. So we have done this. So now what we need to do is we are going to create a new method, say that says what the AI is choosing. So define a its AI selection, and now we call and name the selection that is random, using random dot choice from self dot AI options. Okay, so from the AI options we need this. So if self dot AI underscore ch is equal to rock, if it has selected rock, then what we need to do is we need to set the AI ch to be AI image, that is self dot AI, self dot AI image is rock, elif self dot AICH is equal to paper, then self dot AI img is it's paper. So else, if that's not option, then the last option will be okay, so here the random is this random. So the last option, if it's not paper and not rock, it has to be the scissors. So I'm just going to add it as scissor. So now after the selection is done, we are going to set all these values. So now initially the player and the AI images will be 0, that is none. So whenever the none is specified, we cannot display any values. So if it is not so we cannot display images. So now the user selected something and the AI selected something, and they have got images, so we need to display those images. So now let's try to display the images that has been selected. So we'll just display the images so that the user can know what each of them have selected. So we have created a quick button over here. So displaying the images to the player, so you can better understand what they have selected. Yeah. So if a player, then we are going to set the player tag is equal to self. So now at this time we are going to use extra small font render. We are going to render player. So this time our color selection will be 0. We want black, and along with that we are going to specify AI tag is self dot extra small font dot render. So it is AI and we are going to specify these things, and yeah. So now after doing these things, I need to delete both these values, that is the player tag, AI tag, and all the required images. So what I can do is first let me just set dot display surface dot delete. So I'm going to delete the player tag first. Okay, so player tag I'm going to delete at width of self dot width 0.10, self dot height 0.35. So 30. So now let's just copy it. Copy it, and so over here it is AI underscore tag, and it is AI underscore tag will be at 50% with a height of 30. Cool. And along with it, so I need to do the self dot image as well. So self dot p image, so it will be at 0.35, and I need to do over here self dot AI image, so this will be at 35, I guess. Yeah, 35, and this will be at 50. So now what we can do over here is, so now if I just run the entire program application, so now let me just click on rock. Okay, so there is some error. So we say that okay, so the extra or small, we have not passed the anti-aliasing property, so we need to pass true over here as well. We need to pass true. So now if I just run this, so now let me just click on the rock. So again we are having some issues, so there is a no tag called image, so some typos, and now I think we are good to go with all without any errors. So now we have selected player, rock, paper, scissor, rock, paper. So we can see the player is creating scissor, paper, scissor. Scissor will come under AI selection. So now we need to select who won or who lost. So for that, what we're going to do is for that purpose we are going to create a new function, that is a check round winner. So now we are going to define a new function, so I'm just copy pasting it. So this is from our previous tutorial, so we have done exactly the same. So what we need to do is, instead of just printing this, we are going to say that self dot round value, we are going to store this. Okay, so for all of these we are going to just copy this wherever the AI won a point, so just print this. Instead of the print statement, we are going to have this. In here we are going to have player, we are going to have player, we are going to have AI, so we are going to have player, and over here we are going to have its type. So whenever, even initially the round value will be null, so whenever it's not null, so we are going to print the values what happened. So now let's try to print, okay, now let's try to print, oh my god, what happened? So print the round value. So if self dot round val is not none, so whenever it's not none, what we need to do, so we need to create a value tag. So this value tag will take self dot we are going to use extra small font, then we are going to render something, we are going to render self dot round val. So we are going to specify this, anti-aliasing will be true, and we want the color to be black 0. And now it's time to bleed this into the screen. So self dot display surface dot blit. So we are going to blit the value at the position of self dot width into 0.20, and self dot height of 0.60. So now let's try this. So let's run the game. So now whenever I click on the rock, so the player AI, so now if I just click on, there's nothing displaying over here. So let's see why that's not displaying. Okay, so now we are not calling the round winner function, right? So we need to call the round winner. So that is after the AI selection. The AI selection at the last, we are going to, after everything is done, we are going to create self dot round winner. Now let's try to run the game. So now rock. So rock and paper 1, so AI 1 a point. So you can see the AI score incremented. So now player 1 a point, so his value has been implemented. So now it's the last thing to add, that is we need to add a restart button so that the player can restart the game at any point. So now let's check out readme.md file. So what we are going to do right now, what we have completed, let's mark. So what we have done is we have checked for different Pygame events, we have created a mouse click event, we have created 3 buttons, and we have also added the mouse click for these. So then we display the player selection with the appropriate images. Also we have done it. We have defined using random method, we are getting the values, display the AI selection with the appropriate image, and hence we have completed this section as well. So now round check method, that is we are comparing the value, we have compared the values. So if both are we have completed all these. So let's okay, so now hence we have completed everything. So now the remaining thing that we need to do is just add the restart game method, I guess. So all the else have been completed, so it's time to create the final and last method as a restart game method. So over here let's add, I think by now we have understood how we are going to create a restart button. So if you have understood, then you can just feel free to continue. So create a restart button. Okay, so now I'm going to draw a rect. So I'm going to draw it in the display surface method. So I need to have the color, and let us decide where I want to have it. So I want to have it at a self dot width divided by 2. I've done the math in cat already, so it will be not an issue for me. So if you want to really learn, don't just copy, just write by yourself by clicking, getting the values, and you can change the position as well. There's no need of adding the actual positions. So I think it's 145 and 190, and it is 40, and we have self dot display dot blitz, we have self dot restart button, and we have self dot width divided by 2 minus 115, and self, okay, self dot height minus 120. And now we have created, so we need to also add the function, click function for this restart button. So over here it will be mouse click for the restart button. Cool. So let me just add is 270 and it is less than equal to self dot mouse of 1. Okay, I need to have this as 0. Cool. So this is less than or equal to 420. So if it's less than or equal to 420, then I'm going to call self dot restart restart game method. So we need to define restart method game. So let's define over here. So we need to define a restart game. So at the starting, restart in the sense initial state. So initial state, what order will be there? So we need to set the each of the scores to 0. So let's do that. Set dot ai points to 0. We go in order. So set dot p points 0 player points. So they won't be selecting any values, in the sense we have self dot aich, that is a choice will be none. Along with that, self dot ai pch is also none. So if they have not selected anything, then there won't be images for them. So in that sense, we can add image is none, and self dot p. Okay, I've added p image, so image is equal to none. I guess these are the things that we need to add in the restart game method. And yeah, we also need to set the round value so to none, because we don't want to display anything. Cool. So we have done this. So now it's time to test the game finally. So it's a final test. So now let's run. So we are not having any error. So initially nothing is there, so we can add over here. We can just say that we want to restart game. Okay. So we have restart game method. So now nothing happens. So rock. So let's player want a point. So if I just click on the restart button, it's 0 and everything is gone. So now final thing, we need to remove all of these print statements. So what we do is we just control find and print. So we just remove everything. We don't want anything to be printed, so it will be annoying. Okay, so just let's close everything. Okay, if we are printing any values, okay, good. So now let's run the game, and now let's try it for the final time. So rock, player won the point because it choose paper. Tie, player won a point. Player won a point. And player won. Okay, it's 3-3. It's tie. It's a tie. Oh my god, it's a tie. Player won a point. Player won a point. It's a tie. And you can see player 1 point. So we are not checking for the final testing. So Okay guys, so we have not tested over here. So what we need to do is we need to check for the uh, score. So what we can do is we can add this inside an if block. So let me just add an if condition. um, so if self dot ai score a underscore ai points is less than 5 and self dot p points less than 5, or else what we need to do, or else we need to set self dot and if so we need to elif self dot p points is equal to 5, self dot round value is equal to player won the match, else self dot round value ai won the match. Let's check this out. So let's play the game really quick. I think it's going to okay. So air won 1 point, air won the match. So what I can do is I need to just add if over here. So now can just see rock air won the match. Okay, I need elif elif self dot ai underscore points is equal to 5. So air won 1 point, player won 1 point. So you can see I won the match at 5. So restart game 0. So restart game quit. So thank you guys, this is it. So you have built your first Pygame. That is a game using Python game using the Pygame module, and that's how you have created an RPS game. So if you have liked this video, then do subscribe to this channel and also click on the bell button to receive the notifications of all the new videos from this channel. And if you have any comments or suggestions, then please do drop them in the comment section, and I'll be lucky to hear it all from you. Thank you guys.